tips on the leaves of the trees are starting to tell us that fall has arrived. And so today I thought it would be fun to celebrate that fact with the delicious flavors of fall. So over the next couple of days, I want to share with you some fall-inspired recipes. A lot of these will be featuring produce from the garden because the garden is still going strong, even as things are cooling off just a little bit. And so we want to make the most of that. But starting off this morning, I'm making a cream of wheat. We love doing this with fresh milled wheat, but of course, if you don't have a grain mill, you can also just buy cream of wheat, or this would also be delicious to do on like porridge or cooked oatmeal or anything that's like a hot cooked cereal type thing. So starting off here, I'm gonna chop up some apples. We'll get these on the stove so they can start caramelizing, and then we will move on to the cream of wheat. I'm gonna add a little bit of butter as well as a drizzle of maple syrup and then a little bit of cinnamon to these, and we'll let these simmer for a while. All right, so I'm gonna need about 1.5 cups of coarse ground wheat. So I'm just gonna change my dial up here to coarse ground and then grind that. I'm gonna grab my other saucepan here, and we're gonna add the 1.5 cups of coarse ground wheat. And then I like to do part cream and part whole milk. We are still very much waiting for actual Jersey milk again. It is such a much higher level of cream. So this is Holstein. It's only till here. Jersey is often till like down here or something. But this is what I have right now. I had this sitting in the fridge for a while, so I can scoop off the top. And we'll do 1 cup of cream, and then I'll do another 5 cups of raw whole milk. All right, we'll stir this occasionally and cook it for a while until it is thick, and then we're gonna add in a little vanilla and cinnamon. This is about the consistency that I like to go for. You can see it's a little bit lumpy yet, that's okay, but it will continue to thicken as it cools. So you don't wanna let it get too thick on the stove. And then I'll just add a little bit of vanilla as well as some cinnamon, and you could also add sweetener to this now. I might drizzle a little bit of maple syrup on today just to give all the fall vibes and add that maple flavor as well. But usually, honestly, the kids just eat it like this and then with a little bit of fruit on top, and they love it that way. I set out some slivered almonds here as well because I thought those would be delicious and add some crunch. I was also debating adding some peanut butter. I think that could be delicious, but we got our apples here and then our cream of wheat, and we'll put it all together. All right, and that's what it looks like. So delicious and warming as the days get cooler. I was trying to think how long I have had these pots, and I think I got my first set when Abby was just a couple months old, so we've had these for over 4 years, and I know a lot of you have been asking questions about them, admiring their beauty, which they are absolutely beautiful pot. I also love that when you get this whole cookware set, you get the most bang for your buck because you get the best price, but also you get literally all your needs covered. I love this big pot for soups or for cooking for a crowd, which you guys know that I love to do. This is the best pancake pan I have ever used. Literally anything just slips right out of here. Of course, you have your smaller saucepan, making gravies and all the things out of these. So it's an incredible set. And if you're not into neutrals so much, they come in so many different colors. But the true hero behind these pots is the fact how they're made. So 97% of Americans actually have PFAs in their blood, and if you're wondering what that comes from, there can be a variety of things, but a big one that a lot of people don't think of is their pots and pans. So these PFAs can lead to a lot of health issues, including cancer, reproductive issues, a pretty lengthy list actually. So Caraway is passionate about providing high quality cookware that you can use in your own home and cook not only healthy ingredients, but cook the food in a healthful way. You do not want to put these in the dishwasher. They do need to be hand washed. And then you also want to use wooden spoons, which is actually a win in my opinion, because I just love the aesthetic of them. What I'm personally really excited to try out next is still Caraway, but they have come out with a cast iron set. Now these pots are actually covered with a non-toxic enamel, and so you don't have to worry about seasoning the cast iron. Wow, that is so nice. This is the brazier. This is the lid. I got it in the cream color. And then, oh my goodness, this is a stunner. You can cook them on high heat. They can go into the oven up to 500 degrees. And so that will be really fun to experiment with. The enamel coating also prevents these from rusting at all. So I'm excited that you don't have to worry about that with these. These cast iron pans actually have a lifetime warranty. So if you have had your eye on Caraway cookware, either for your own home or with Christmas coming up, incredible Christmas gift, wedding gift, the cookware set would be such a good way to go. It's actually already 20% off when you buy it as an entire set, but you'll get an extra 10% off with my discount code, which then gives you 30% off of your entire order. And if you don't want to dive all in and get the whole set right at once, that discount code will also work on any item on their website. It is actually about 6 o'clock in the evening, which means it is high time to get dinner going here. We had homeschool co-op this afternoon, which was so exciting, but we often like to visit for a while after. And so I need to do something quick for dinner tonight. I have been through the afternoon cooking some soup bones over in my Instant Pot. So we have some delicious broth ready. We got rain this afternoon, so it's just all the cozy vibes for soup for dinner. And the recipe that I'm using, I'll leave it linked down below. I don't know if I've ever followed the recipe to a T, but it is the spicy lasagna soup by Half-Baked Harvest. It is so delicious. This has been one of our very favorite soups for the last couple of years now, I want to say. I know last year it was on repeat, and a couple days ago, I guess, maybe weeks ago by now, Josh and I were talking about it randomly, and everybody was like, yes, let's have lasagna soup. So I thought that would be an easy thing to throw together for dinner tonight. With the lasagna noodles, it doesn't feel like one that you need anything on the side like bread or anything like that, because it's a pretty hearty soup just in and of itself. So that's the plan here tonight. I need to head out to the garden and grab a bunch of herbs for this soup because the herbs can really elevate it to the next level. But I'm gonna add some salt and pepper in here, and then some tomato paste to this as well. And then we're gonna add in a bunch of our broth, some herbs, and we'll soon be ready to go. Oh, and the lasagna noodles. Can't forget those. Oh, that broth smells so good. Okay, let's grab some thyme. I think there's some under here somewhere. And then basil. Some chives, because they make everything taste better. And possibly my very favorite summertime herb, which I know we're getting into fall, but which is dill. All right, let's go add these to the soup. Well, today is kind of getting away from me here, but I thought it would be really fun to mix up an apple pie. This is one of our favorite things in the fall. This recipe actually is from Josh's mom, so it's one that he grew up with and really, really loves. It's always one of his favorite treats in the fall, and they've had a really, really busy week out on the field. So we're gonna whip that up. I have shared this recipe on here before, but in a question box over on Instagram recently, one of you was asking what my pie crust recipe was. Somebody else was asking for pie recipes. So I thought, you know what? Let's have some fun with this. So I will link it down below, but this is a sourdough pie crust. It uses sourdough discard. So I do like to use fresh milled flour for it, but of course you can use all purpose. And then I'll share with you the rest of the actual assembly of the apple pie. Okay, so we're gonna grab kind of a little bit of a heaping cup here of our fresh milled flour and then a pinch of salt. I'm actually not putting sugar into here, even though the recipe calls for it, but you could definitely do that. And then we'll do about a half a cup. Tell me your sourdough jar looks like this sometimes. I had it rising last night. It just bubbled everywhere, so we're gonna have to clean that up at some point, but for now we are just gonna go right with the flow. I'm gonna grab a half a cup of that, and then I will take my cheese grater here and shred in 8 tablespoons of butter. Okay, almost forgot. Also need to add a teaspoon of vinegar. Okay, the dough has come together now, so I'm gonna pop this in the fridge for a couple minutes while I clean up here, and then we'll roll it out. Probably should have grabbed some parchment paper, but this will work. We're still eating pretty much sugar-free. We'll do little bits of raw honey, maybe a little bit of maple syrup sometimes. So I'm gonna tell you how I'm doing this pie for us today, but then also kind of tell you how it would typically go. So I have a crumb mixture here. I just grabbed some more of my fresh milled flour as well as some butter. Now normally you would also add some sugar into this. I'll leave the actual recipe for you down below that I normally do, because I'm guessing a lot of you would think this is not nearly sweet enough what I'm doing for us. But after a number of months of eating very low sugar, our family actually has been enjoying eating this way. That's what I'll do for us. But I'll put half of this crumb mixture on the bottom of my pie pan here. And then we will peel some apples and I'll cut them in half and we'll put them each half face down on the pie. This is gonna be so fun to show Josh that we made this today. He has no idea. But the apples are in, covered it with the rest of that crumb mixture, and then I have 2/3 cups of heavy cream here. We're just gonna pour that all over these apples. It makes such a delicious kind of sauce. And then we'll sprinkle it generously with some cinnamon, and we'll pop it into the oven. Now, you're supposed to bake this for the first like 15 minutes at 425 and then turn the temperature down to 350 for another 35 minutes. My stove is not great with temperature. For me, that gets way too dark. And in general, I make pies like for deliciousness, not necessarily for looks, which you probably saw as I did my crust. So sometimes my crust will get a little bit darker than ideal, still taste delicious, but you can also cover the edges with some aluminum wrap or something like that to keep them from browning too much. But we'll pop this in now. First, like I said, around 425 and then down to 350 for the remainder. Well, it's no secret how much I love salads. I have made them probably in almost every like what we eat in a week style video. And fall is no exception, except I do like to kind of add ingredients, fruits, veggies, that kind of thing that kind of go with the season. So that's what we're gonna do here tonight. We're gonna whip up some harvest bowls. So of course I had to grab some sweet potatoes. We'll roast these. That also adds incredible texture to these bowls. And then we will cook up some chicken, some different toppings, and I'm really looking forward to having that for dinner here in a bit. Okay, doing the normal here. Putting on some avocado oil, and then we'll do some salt, garlic powder, and paprika. And then towards the end of baking, I want to add some fresh herbs as well. My goodness, it feels so bare out here. I don't know if you can see behind me. They have been chopping corn this week, and so it has been a very busy week on the farm, but it feels so empty whenever the corn comes down. Anyway, I'm heading up to the garden with my basket. Fall salads just need a little bit more like steamed or roasted veggies, I feel like, instead of everything raw and cold like you might do in a summer salad. So I remembered that we have more zucchini ready. So I'm gonna go grab that and then the herbs for the sweet potatoes. Well, things are definitely looking a little bit more overgrown and seeded and things, but still the garden in the evenings is one of my very favorite things ever. And here is our zucchini. She is going to town. All right, let's see. What do you got for us? There's a nice big one in there. Okay, let's make that Dutch baby today. I'm actually gonna start off with some frozen blackberries here this morning. I don't have a ton of fresh fruit on hand right now. I have some pears, but I wanted to use those for lunch. So I'm just gonna make like a compote or a blackberry sauce here. Last time that I did a Dutch baby, we did a savory one, and I was going back and forth because it would also be so delicious with some roasted cherry tomatoes and do, yeah, more like a savory version with herbs and things, but I thought, you know what, let's switch it up. One of my daughters is very full of eggs right now. She's like, Mom, we've had enough eggs for a while. We have a bit of an overabundance of them right now. So sweet tastes less eggy. So we'll do that this time. I will be following this recipe from New York Times Cooking. I feel like pretty much every Dutch baby is very similar ingredients, but that's the one that I am using. So to start off with, we're gonna pop some butter in our cast iron pan. I'm so excited to use these new ones from Caraway and finally have a bit more of a lip here to work with. And then we'll pop that in the oven to heat while we mix the batter.
Mommy, can you get the Play-Doh down?
Often when I do frozen berries like this, I like to just, while the berries are still frozen, add a little bit of cornstarch and a drizzle of honey. And then as the berries thaw and all of that, it just turns into a beautiful sauce. So that's what I'm gonna do here this morning as well. And that can kind of take care of itself while we do the batter. I'm gonna take a ½ cup of fresh milled flour here, and then 3 eggs. We'll do a little sprinkle of cinnamon, and then a ½ cup of whole milk. All right, we'll mix that all together, and then as soon as our butter is melted, we'll pour this over the butter and pop it in. Okay, butter is beautifully melted, just starting to brown a little bit, so we're gonna pour the batter over top. Now, I will probably need to do this recipe another time after we've done our first one for it to be enough, but I tried doubling it before and it does not puff well, so I think you need to do a layer at a time. All right, we'll pop that into the oven for about 20 minutes. Pancake, and you can put some maple syrup on it. All right, I have my other batter ready here to go into the oven. And while we wait on our Dutch baby to be done, I wanna shape up an artisan loaf that I mixed last night because I'm thinking soup and sandwiches for lunch is gonna be delicious, and it is almost time to start school here. So I'm gonna just be popping in and out for little parts of putting this lunch together, but it is such a delicious, like warming soup and sandwich idea for the fall, so I'm really excited to have that today. It's definitely a bit of a chillier morning. While you're watching, I would love to know what you are most excited for in the kitchen. So like what you're most excited to eat this fall. Top here with some homemade yogurt and then the sauce and maple syrup. Well, I didn't quite reach around this morning. I am now in over my head in tomatoes that need to be canned, so I think I'm gonna make a bunch of pizza sauce right now, but I was not able to film more recipes. I was hoping to at least film lunch yet, and that did not happen. So we'll have to save that for another time, but I hope that you still gained some inspiration for your kitchen this week. Again, I would love to hear what you are making as you start thinking about the fall season and all those delicious flavors. So thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to check out Caraway if you are looking for non-toxic cookware, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.
Golden, golden thing.